Yes, I'm Brendan Haughey. I cover the Chichester area, which is the PO numbers, sort of the higher ones, and some of the BN18, so there's Arundel, Havant, Bognor and Chichester and surrounding villages. I've been operating the door-to-door business since September last year, 2016. I operate the business from home, which is where I am now. I have storage in the garage. I invested in some racking, so it's pretty much exclusively used as the storage unit for the business. I have an office downstairs, and yeah, so it keeps overheads down whilst I'm at this stage. I may, in future as the business grows, move into premises, but as things stand, this is working for me. Yeah, so my marketing strategy when I first started the business, so the first 3 months, I followed the advice of Jeff and the franchise, in that I bought the database, the market locator database, and I also I bought Capsule, which is the CRM, which is really useful. And I essentially rang up 30-40 clients a day, kind of validated their details, introduced myself. Sometimes I would, if I talked to the person, the decision maker, I'd talk a little bit more than just validating the details, just kind of working out if they used leaflets as a marketing tool, and kind of telling them a little bit about what we do. But by and large, it was just kind of validating, introducing myself, and getting their contact details correct. Then I'd use DocMail to send a letter of introduction, which was the template, slightly modified, as I went through it. Certainly I used it unmodified to begin with for the first few months because it was just introducing a new franchise, but later on I'd modify it slightly. And I'd also follow that up a couple of days later with an email replicating the letter. And a week later, when they've had a chance, when I could be assured that they would have received the DocMail letter and the email, I'd call them up and take it from there. In addition to that, I also got an AdWord account and used some basic sort of best practice that's available on the forum that the franchise offered, and made sure that the search terms were optimized and they're good landing pages. Basic sort of marketing best practice. Didn't take very long, and to the point now where if you search for leaflet distribution in my area, I'm kind of in the first page. Well, in some cases top now. So they were the two main things. I got my first client after 2 or 3 weeks, I recall. This is him. So this is Tree Rangers. This came from some of my initial marketing. They're a gardening company, and yeah, he was interested. I got him at the right time, right place, if you like. He saw my material, I saw the marketing. I rang him up and he said, yeah, I am interested, and booked a leaflet drop in Emsworth, which is a smaller village of about 9,000, and got some good response from it, and he's been a client ever since. When I first started, I had to do a lot of the delivery myself, and had a sort of employ or encourage my family to help out, which was not ideal. But you get through it because it takes a little bit of time to get the distributors on board. Initially I was relying on putting the leaflets out, the recruitment leaflets, and they worked reasonably well. I mean, got some good quality distributor applications through, but not very many to begin with, and I needed more, so we're having to do that ourselves for the first 3 months. Really quite a lot of distributing. I then used Indeed.com. That got the volume up, and started to build a network of distributors. It takes a good 6 to 9 months to get a reasonably solid base of reliable distributors, because you got to kiss a lot of ugly ducklings before you get your prince. Is that the right expression? Anyway, you know what I mean. In terms of finding post people on an ongoing basis, I mostly use the leaflets. They're effective, they're easy to implement, and they're cost effective, and the quality of applicant is better. About sort of 6-9 months ago, I won a contract for sending out magazines, 20,000 every month, and they need to go out within 7 days. So I really had to up the number of distributors that I have had from about 10 to about 20. So I spent a bit of money on Indeed, and that got me through that. It got me a lot of applicants. Some worked out, less. The quality wasn't quite as good as the leaflets, but on an ongoing basis, I now, because I got up to a level, I've got around 30 distributors. If I need a top up, I just use the leaflets. It was about 2 months before I first started putting out multiple leaflets. It takes that time to get enough clients to want to do the leaflet drop at the same time. That's a little bit of a frustration of the job when you're first starting. You've got a low volume of business, and unfortunately not every client's needs are the same. I had quite a lot of businesses wanting to go out at different times to different areas. In my initial marketing, that's the result of that. But after a couple of months, I got enough sort of inquiries, enough volume of business to be able to put out 2 and 3 leaflets on rounds, and that's what you need really to make it profitable. Single leaflets, unless you're selling on solus, which isn't always achievable if a client just wants their leaflets out and are happy to go on shared. They don't want to pay a premium that they're not after. It's not that profitable sending out to 1 leaflet or 2 leaflet. Just about gives you some profit, but the 3rd leaflet, that's what really gives you the money. Day in the life of door-to-door Chichester. It can be varied depending on what you're doing. There's 2 main components to the job. Well, there's probably 3. There is the fulfillment of the job, i.e. sending out the rounds, and the administration surrounding that, downloading the tracks, and then there's selling, of course. You've got to keep the pipeline going. So I do try to divide up my day, and there's marketing as well. So I mean, you are running a small business here, and it's multifaceted. So you've got to be a bit of a jack of all trades, and it's important that you don't neglect any one part of running a business. So typically and ideally, this is how my a typical day of my working life would be. It's not, but it's how it should be. I would spend perhaps a morning distributing the rounds to the distributors. Okay, taking back the completed ones, doing the admin around, downloading the tracks, and generating the invoices to pay the distributors. And then maybe in the afternoon I would review my marketing. I'd look at AdWords, I'd look at email strategy. If I would be working. It's a good idea to deploy regular marketing via DocMail or MailChimp, or both actually. So I'd be looking at that. And maybe later on in the day I would have my calls to make. They would be scheduled calls that are follow-ups to inquiries, or just ongoing sort of sales servicing calls, making sure that the campaigns are going well. And then I'd always try, and it doesn't happen every day, I would try to do an hour of cold calling to keep that pipeline flowing, because if you don't do that, you're going to limit the growth of your business. Kind of clients that I deal with, I don't suppose is much different in type as most other franchises, but here's a small range. So it's a veterinary company. They opened up recently as a new business. They did initial leaflet, or we did an initial leaflet drop with them about 5-6 months ago, and it went really well. Generated them a very a good opening, a good number of people to attend their opening day. And so they followed up with a larger deployment of leaflets, which we just completed for them, and they've been very happy with those too. This one here, which is a haberdashery drape-wise interior. This is a bit of a long story, really. This was one of the contacts I phoned in my first 3 months through using the call, validate, follow-up method. And he seemed keen, and I basically called him every week for the next year until eventually we got to the point actually where we ended up designing and printing, and now only this week starting the distribution of their leaflets. Now that was a slow burner, but assuming all goes well with the response, he wants to do this sort of thing every month. So we've had the time to kind of develop a good relationship, close relationship. All I need to do is for the leaflet to do its job, and I feel this could be a very, very good client going forward. This is a little bit different. This is a magazine. Most towns, cities have these sort of like free magazines full of adverts. They're usually sort of associated with in small villages. They're very well received by local villagers. They're kind of a community magazine. I approached those as a cold call. I got them through my door, and they already had a distributor, but as luck would have it, the distributor wasn't doing a great job. They wasn't getting the magazines out in time. I went down, I kind of did my presentation, showed them how we track, and we agreed a deal. And I've been doing this for about 9 months now. It goes out to 9,000 within the space of about 10 days, and it's quite an easy job. I get a good rate, twice the normal rate, because they weigh about 80-90 grams. And the other great thing about it is that I can put leaflets out with it as well. So as well as getting a good rate on this and a regular income, I think that's very important to get a regular income. If you can get any sort of customer that's willing to do something on a regular basis, and clearly a monthly magazine would fit that profile, that's worth having. And an added bonus of being able to put leaflets out, so basically it's 100% profit in any leaflets you put out with this is even better. So I use Xero as a software, accounting software tool, and it sort of tells me clearly where my sales are coming from. And distribution accounts for 85% of my revenue, and 15% is printing, or maybe 12%, and the rest is design. That's the kind of makeup of my business. Generally, it's a good way of offering a full service, and you make the profit on the distribution. That tends to be the way I play it. It's really useful having a design service, because many of your clients will have that in-house. The larger, more established clients that are departmentalized, but small clients that haven't done a lot of marketing, aren't very marketing savvy, they come to you with nothing, and if you're able to provide a leaflet design service, that'll get you the job. And if you don't, you won't get the job. So it's very useful to have that in-house. Will at head office does a really good job. I've got maybe 10 or 12 design jobs from Will over the last year or so. So yeah, it's a useful additional service to have. So as one of the sort of things you buy into, or you get when you buy into the franchise, is the software, and that is critical to really run the business. You may look at a leaflet distribution, and on the surface it may not look that complicated to put together, but believe me, when you've got a number of leaflet deals going through, and you're having to manage that process together with the post people, I don't really think I could do it without the software that's provided. It would be a bit of a mess. And it's really intuitive system, easy to use. It kind of does most things you want it to, and they are developing it to do even more things. But it manages your post people, it manages the invoicing or the payment of them by creating invoices, and most importantly, it manages the rounds. It ensures that you don't have clashes, you don't get all your rounds are non-competing, you don't have businesses doing the same thing. and it manages the reporting as well, which is critical. So you can, it's so essential to keep your clients up to date with how their leaflet campaigns are going. If you're not communicating with them regularly, you know, that's a dissatisfaction mark, and you're less likely to get repeat business. And with the software, you can just easily generate a report each week that shows which rounds have been completed, which ones are in process, and which are remaining. So they get a sense of progress and where they are with the campaign. I've been thinking about getting a van. I think it would serve a dual purpose of being a utility to get the deliveries around, especially when you've got a magazine. I've got 2 of these deals, so they are really straining the suspension of my SUV, and of course it would serve to promote the business, and it is something I'm certainly thinking about doing in the near future. Working with head office is an absolute dream. If you've got a problem, they're always there to answer your issues, and 9 times out of 10 they've got a solution. All very friendly, no problem. So if I was looking at this opportunity again, and I was giving advice to anybody thinking about investing in this franchise, I would recommend it. Certainly I'd recommend it. It's a low risk opportunity, and it's a relatively low investment in terms of money compared to other opportunities, and there were 2 attractive elements to the business, and that's why I took it. In terms of what you need to make this business a success, you need to be somebody that's happy multitasking, somebody that's happy selling, because it is ostensibly a sales business. You've got to be organised and a good administrator as well. There is that component to the role. It is dual in that respect, but you can't be afraid to go out there and ask for the business, and you've got to have discipline, and you've got to keep doing the same things. You've got to keep making those calls. You've got to be active through networking, going to meeting face to face, going to networking groups. You've got to be you've got to be IT savvy to a certain extent. Certainly digital marketing comes into it. You've got to know about that, and it's not that complicated. Some people, there is a fear factor there, but if you read the right books and talk to the right people, you can overcome that. So yeah, I would advise people coming into this be prepared to be a multitasker and to be good at most things around business.